Hello everyone, welcome to ChessVisor, your wise choice to improve your chess. Let's talk about this game played between Arjun Erigaisi and Magnus Carlsen. This was played in Aimchess Rapid round number 7, day 2, and it was a very complicated game and it is going to be a lengthy video. So, a small disclaimer before we start. So, if you are watching this channel for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos. So, Arjun was handling the white pieces, so he opens the game with 1 d4. And as usual, Magnus tries this tricky move, that is g6, that is modern defense. Earlier in the previous, the previous tournament, I think Magnus Carlsen managed to beat Arjun in I think 24 move or something like that. So he tries the same idea. And it is worth to note that the same opening idea failed to Pragnananda. So yeah, let's continue. So e4, we have dual pawn in the center, d6, knight c3, bishop g7. So knight f6 will allow the move pawn to h4 h5. So maybe the exchange sacrifice idea will come. So Magnus tries to delay the development of the king's knight. So bishop e3, we have a6. So trying to gain more space on the queen side with the move b5 later. Queen d2, b5 we have, and then queen side castling. Here Arjun says, okay, you are going to attack me on the queen side. I don't care. I'm going to castle on the queen side. So we have b4 as usual, knight to d5, a5. So defending the pawn, and now we have the move h4. But after h6, you don't want to play something like h5 here because g5 is coming. So that is not good for white. So here he plays the move f3. And here Magnus plays knight d7. We have pawn to g4. e6 kicking the knight, and the knight comes to f4. And after knight e7 developing, we have king to b1, a prophylaxis move. Bishop b7, knight ge2, developing the another knight. d5 we have. In this position, he plays the move knight to g3 here. And after that, knight b6. Idea is very simple. The knight wants to come to c4 square. And here, after this move, he plays queen to e1. Queen f2 was also an option. So knight c4. In this position, he simply drops the bishop to c1 to defend b2 as well as the preserve the bishop pair. And interesting variation I would like to highlight is a very critical line. So here actually Arjun could go down this line, that is simply exchange the bishop for the knight. The point is that why we are going to give up the bishop in the early phase of the game. The reason is that Magnus's king is still in the center. He keeps moving his pieces multiple times. He kind of violates the chess opening principle, and that's why this variation is going to open up the center and try to attack the king. Let me show you this very quickly. d5, e takes d5, bishop c5. And now after d4, we have knight d5, bishop takes d5, e takes d5, we have queen to d7. And after rook h2, this is playable for black with the move kingside castling, and you're going to give up a piece here like this. Otherwise, if you try to defend with something like bishop f8, then you are gone. Because after something like queen to e5, you are totally lost here. So rook g8 and then knight e4, you cannot grab the pawn because knight f6 is there. So all in all, this variation could have gone better for white. But in this position, Arjun did not consider this line. Rather, he played bishop c1. We have queen d6. After queen to d6, in this position, actually, Arjun plays the move rook to h2 here. This is also a good move, but he could have considered this move. Again, try to open up the position with the e takes d5. After bishop takes d5, we may have a h5, g5. Knight takes d5, queen takes d5. We have queen e2 threatening the knight. So knight d6, bishop g2, trying to give the discovery. We have to save the rook. So rook to d8, f4, discover attack. So queen b5, f takes g5. After h takes g5, queen e3, bishop h6. And again, this variation is completely clearly better for white, and he could easily win the game from now onwards. But in the game, he played the rook lifting move, that is rook h2, trying to defend the second rank, as well as he is going to put it on the e file or d file if it is required. So he castles on the queen side. We have e5, queen b6, c3. And now, interestingly, black is better here because since Magnus simply castled on the queen side, except this bishop, I think all other pieces are going to come on to the queen side very easily and very quickly. And he can even, after putting the rook onto e file, he can even drop the bishop to f8 to get into the game. So we have knight c6 as per the plan, king a1, a4, and Arjun knows that okay, b file is going to open, so he simply parks the king over to the even square. Knight d3, bishop f8, f4, and the last move I think Magnus involved the bishop also, and now we have f4 more space, bishop a6, f5, and here Arjun wants to open up the position on the king side so that he will have some kind of counter attack on the king side. After b takes c3, we have b takes c3, the line is completely open, and in this position Magnus should have played this move, trying to involve the other piece into the game. In case if this knight is captured, it can be replaced, and simply he can park the king to a8 actually, and then he should involve the rook into the game. This variation I will cover quickly, but in the game he played king d7. So he finds a very shortcut move. So because he thought, okay, this king d7 move will help me to put the rook on the b file so that I can simply deliver the checkmate, right? But the move which I mentioned is knight 6 a5. So after queen f2, defending the b2, okay, so king b7, after f takes e6, f takes e6, queen f6, and now the rook is hit, right? But now we are going to sacrifice the rook with the move rook a8, and if white greedily captures, he is going to get checkmated. So after queen takes h8, we have knight b3 check. After a takes b3, we have king b1, queen a5, knight c5 check. But after bishop takes c5, d takes c5, and now comes the move knight to d2 check. But after bishop takes d2, we have queen a2 check, king followed by queen c2 is a checkmate. So going back, another variation was after this knight d2 check, if you capture with the move that is rook takes d2, rook h takes d2, all are same, but still bishop d3 check, bishop takes d3, then queen a1 is a brilliant checkmate. So this could be an idea in this position, but Magnus found some shortcut to play this after king d7. But the problem is now the king is kind of unsafe here, because after f takes e6 check, we have f takes e6, the file is completely open, and now Arjun plays queen f2, and here also he had a chance to prevent this penetration with the move rook h7, because that rook is simply as of now it is useless, so he could have put it on h7, right? But in the game he hurried with the move rook to b8. So we have queen f7 check, bishop e7, knight c5 check, a brilliant move here. And in this position Magnus should be very, very careful, because you cannot go to c8 square as you are getting checkmated in the couple of moves like this. So going back in the game, he goes king d8 considering or knowing this. So queen takes g6. Now this queen is guarding this mating threat, otherwise it's very tricky move. So knight 6 takes e5, and now he unleashes the discovered attack. So after knight takes e6 check and king d7, we have d takes e5, queen takes e6, and for the time he avoids the queen trade, but he could do the queen trade, because this if you look at the pawn structure very carefully and you evaluate, and that king and pawn in game, or if you simplify into a king and pawn in game, it should be winning for white. So queen e4, taking advantage of the pin, king c6, queen f5, queen takes f5 now, and after knight takes f5, we have this kind of imbalance going on in this position. So only thing is, if simply if white could capture this pawn, I think he's going to capture in a couple of moves, I think. So it is completely winning position for white after he loses the h6 pawn. So after knight takes f5, we have bishop c5, and after bishop takes h6, and now as you can see there are 3 clear passes on the king side and the 1 pawn on the center of the board. And if you look at Magnus's pawn, I think they are all very scattered and they are not very healthy, and he does not have any attack going on. So it is lost position already. Only thing is he needs to be very patient to convert this game. So we have bishop takes c4, bishop takes c4, we have e6, rook he8 here, rook e1, then we have bishop d3. But after knight to d4 check, we have bishop takes d4, and after c takes d4, still I am marking this imbalance of the pawn structure, rook b4. We have this rook h3 move. In this position you cannot grab this pawn as you are going into a self-winning mode. So rook d1, rook takes e6, bishop c1, and you are gone actually. So going back in the game, he plays bishop e4, rook takes a3, another pawn down. But now Magnus captures e6 now. So after bishop f4, we have rook takes d4, another pawn falls. But the problem is, again we have 3 passes. So it's a very clear win, I think. Rook c1 check here, rook c4, and again he exchanges. So yeah, d takes c4, we have rook a6 check, and again he exchanged everything into this endgame where we have three clear passes, and Magnus has 2 pawns, but it is doubled on the c file, and that is of no use. And we have opposite color bishop, and that is the only hope Magnus has now. So king b2, bishop f3, g5, c5, but now comes king c3, simply stopping this double pawns. King d5, g6, king e6, we have g7, king f7, we have bishop e5, bishop to d5, then we have h5. And in this position, Magnus simply gives up and resigns. Why he resigns? Let me quickly go through this kind of or simplify this position. The theoretical idea what white is having here is very simple. He is going to push up the a pawn, and this bishop needs to cover two important squares, that is c4 as well as the a8 square where the pawn is going to queen, right? And he cannot do the same. Okay, I will show you the long variation now. So king g8, a4, bishop f7, king h6, and in this position you cannot leave this diagonal, your bishop, otherwise you are going to lose the pawn. So let's consider this move, bishop d5 then. So a5, king h7, bishop f4, king g6, a6, king f7, bishop g5, we have king g6, a7, king f7, bishop e3, and now after king to g8 we have finally bishop takes c5, king h7, then we have king to d4 attacking the bishop, and the bishop goes to the corner and he drops another pawn. King g8, king b5, bishop d5, king b6, bishop a8, king c7, bishop to g2, we have king b8, bishop to d5, a8 queens, and you have to give up the bishop like this. And after this move I don't have to explain, I think. So it's a dead last position for black. So considering this, after this h5 move, in this position actually Magnus resigns. So what do you think about this game? I think this is the first time Arjun beat Magnus Carlsen, I think, in any format. So let me know your ideas, thoughts, suggestions in the comment section below. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, and still if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos. As usual, this is Chess Wiser, your wise choice to improve your chess.